r/AskReddit asks. Are you worried with coronavirus COVID-19? If so, how is the new virus hitting you and are you doing anything to prevent spread to you? I'm in Daegu, South Korea. We are adding almost 500 cases a day. Shopping is closed. Streets are empty. Outside of Wuhan, Daegu has the most cases. Not enough masks, Lysol wipes are sold out, hand sanitizer is gone. I'm not concerned for myself but rather for my 2 young kids. We are staying inside. Avoiding people. If it's any consolation. Reports I've read from the WHO and CDC are that children show the strongest immune response and aren't becoming sick. Children and GT, healthy adults and GT, older and GT, sick and older. Women seem to be doing better than men, but this is based on anecdotal evidence in China. Not worried, but I'm open to becoming worried in the future. Honestly, the virus is not dangerous. Mass panic and the unpreparedness of our first world governments are. Not worried about dying from it, but catching it is a real concern, since I use public transportation in a city with a high level of international travelers. I'm making more of an effort to wash my hands thoroughly. Only time will tell at this point, what with it taking up to 20 days to show symptoms. I can't afford to isolate myself for 16 days, so the only logical prep is wash my hands after going out in public. It is a good habit to clean your phone often just in case of any germs after being out in public as well. I'm from Colombia, and it looks that not even a frickin' virus wants to live here. XD. No has died from the virus in Colombia yet, as all infected persons were shot in street muggings before their symptoms got worse/s. I'm not concerned about the virus itself. No elderly relatives to worry about, all of my friends and family are young enough to be unharmed. What concerns me is the potential civil unrest. The fear and panic, combined with the need for a lot of people to self-isolate, the overstretching of public services etc. could be a lot worse than the disease itself. My country seems to be handling things very well, considering. It could still turn into a pandemic as much here as anywhere else though. I am worried about my grandmother with asthma and a few other health issues. So far all I've done is called her and advised her to be careful. Incredibly worried. I'm currently going through chemotherapy, and my immune system is already incredibly compromised. I've had days over the last few months where I've been on the verge of neutropenic sepsis and had to be taken in as an inpatient because of minor things like a cold. I'm lucky that my country has no reported cases yet, that I know of, but it's still a worrying thought. See, you're the kind of person who should be worried. Most of the panic is emo and called for. I live in Japan and the country is in full freak-out mode right now. Schools have been closed as well as some museums and even arcades. A lot of people aren't leaving their houses either, which is actually kind of awesome because the trains aren't sardine-packed right now. Even still, I don't have it half as bad as my friend who lives in Hong Kong. He and his wife are going stir-crazy from the quarantine and the associated panic. Personally, I'm not the least bit worried and, while I don't want to downplay the virus, I can't shake the feeling that people all around the world are grossly overreacting to it. My commutes into Osaka for work have been a bit more comfortable the past few weeks for sure. I'm not personally worried as the death rate is pretty low. However, I'm concerned if it gets into one of the CA homeless camps, it's going to spread like wildfire and kill a lot of people. I don't think they have great access to treatment. I'm in Southern California and stores are already sold out of masks/hand sanitizer, so it could get interesting. Plus the CDC has hardly tested anyone due to the stringent requirements. Every meme, news story, tweet, etc. reminds me of H1N1, and for me that's personal. I haven't got enough left in me at the moment to cry, but I will. My wonderful husband died of H1N1 related pneumonia on 27th of December 2009. So I'll grieve every loss in this current virus because I lost my own victim of one that people said wasn't that bad until the death started. So sorry for your loss. My lung collapsed in 2009 and I couldn't work for 6 months. Still in debt due to it today. I was 35. I cringe when I hear just flu. Someone died today about 500 yards from where I am right now, so it's pretty scary. My friend I'm with has a husband that is a fireman that came into contact with 2 other firemen that transported them, so I'm pretty scared. I went to Evergreen Hospital 3 times this week for cardiac rehab, so I'm scared. I'd rather not be sick for 2 to 6 weeks, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned for many people in my church who are elderly or have health problems already. I'm concerned with how badly people might overreact. I do think there will be some rather serious disruptions. Hospitals overwhelmed, schools closed, public events canceled, that sort of thing. I live in Washington State. Guess where the first death in the U.S. happened? To make this even more fun, my grandparents live in Zhejiang, which is like a province or something away from Wuhan. I live in Kirkland, lol. A little bit worried for my parents, but they're relatively young and healthy, so they should be okay. I am not scared for myself. Took a trip and the lack of huge crowds has been pleasant. Thinking of even booking another trip in the next couple months to take advantage. I just realized that life insurance companies are all going to go bankrupt after this. I'm worried because I don't like unknowns and don't feel like I know what source of information is reliable. Is China underreporting? Is the US media exaggerating? Probably yes to both. Hard to tell how worried or not I should be, and I don't like that. The actual virus? Not super worried. I'm young and healthy, live in the US and have insurance and access to expensive but life-saving treatment. I am going on vacation to Vegas though, and I always get sick there, just hoping not with this. I also live in a town that's a tourist cruise destination, 10k different tourists a day, and I'm sure the virus will arrive here soon enough from that. I live on an island. Anywhere we go we get sick because we're exposed to totally different colds and flus than we're used to. Can't live life scared of everything, I guess. I'm worried. I work at a school and some students have chronic health conditions, just recovered from cancer, or are on medicine that suppresses their immune systems. We usually have a couple students every year who end up in the ICU with the flu. I hate to think of what this could do to my most vulnerable students. A little worried. I work in an ICU and my hospital has 1 patient, possibly 2 that we are testing specifically for COVID-19. I am, cause I live in Italy and I am not really far away from the danger zones, mostly because it's spreading too fast and they cannot stop it. I am not worried for my own health but for the fact that they would isolate me and I would probably lose my new job for it. My hope is that if it is impacting everyone they can fire all of us, but I live in the US. We aren't really trying to stop it, and we have US workers' protections, so I'm not super optimistic. I'm hanging out at the Chinese restaurant 2 blocks down since people are avoiding a perfectly prepared egg roll for some reason. It's time to band together and support our local Chinese restaurants. Am I worried? No, because I've lost count how many versions of the flu were supposed to kill us by this point. Should I be? Probably, but I'm just too cynical by this point. The stock market is not crashing just because of fears of dying from the virus, it's that China is still in flux and the entire world depends on them to produce most of our stuff. If they're having to shut down their factories, it'll be a domino situation pretty quickly unless a really good antidote/vaccine is discovered, and that is highly unlikely to happen soon enough to protect the economy. So this is more than just about the many versions of the flu that didn't kill you, but about our entire economic infrastructure because the virus is killing people in China. I feel like I may have to cash in vacation weeks in case I wind up quarantined. Since it has a 2-week incubation period, there really is no way to know if you already got it from some asymptomatic carrier who got it from someone else. I'm also worried since I already paid for a vacation to Europe and don't know what the situation's gonna look like 3 months from now. I'm hoping it'll be a non-issue by then. Aside from that, I'm not too worried. If detected early, it seems to have a pretty good survival rate. In Japan, where there have been infections within 50 miles of me. I work remote only. Barely leave the house. Shops around me are barren for household goods. Shit sucks. I'm not worried about it. I live in a rural area and work a job that only requires me to interact with very few people. I do concern myself for my elderly relatives, however. I'm getting over some kind of flu bug I've had for weeks. My kids are starting to show signs of catching the cold too. I'm really worried that getting coronavirus while fighting another cold at the same time could be life-threatening. And I have parents pretty sick of the White House saying we should chill out because it'll only kill the elderly or people with existing health conditions. Sorry, but those people are very important to me, and that is not making me feel any better.